Hello, everyone. Hi. Oh, we are a few minutes late, some technical difficulties, but I am so pleased that we've managed to overcome them and bring you this very special Facebook Live where we are going to be delving into transpersonal insights on relationships. And in order to do that, I'm really excited to have with me the very lovely Subikshalakshmi, whose name I have probably just murdered in pronunciation.
No, you did great.
But really, so very welcome. And before I get you to tell us about yourself, just for anyone that's watching, if you want to ask any questions as we go through, then please do, and we'll pick them up towards the end. Also, if you ask a question, we won't be able to see who is asking it unless you tell us who you are. So if you are watching this live, do say hello for a start. Tell us who you are and pop your questions in the comments and we'll be able to pick them up at the end. So anyway, Subikshalakshmi, over to you. Just introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. First of all, Helen, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm really honored to have a conversation about such an interesting new topic, very new topic and relevant topic, especially for right now with you in this live video session. So I'm very excited about it. And yeah, like Helen rightly pronounced, I'm Subikshalakshmi. I'm from India. And I work as an assistant professor with CMR University in Bangalore. Yes, and I've been working as an assistant professor for past 3 years. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey of learning psychology and teaching psychology. And the journey has always been different, like how life's journey is different. Like initially, you know something, you learn something, and then as you go, you learn more about it, more deeper understanding of the subject. So my journey has been very interesting, and I'm looking forward to more exciting journey like this. And one of them is having a conversation today here. Yes, so I'm excited.
Excellent. So for those that haven't come across transpersonal psychology at all, can you just tell us a bit about what that's about?
Absolutely. So before even I came across this concept, and it's a field actually, transpersonal psychology. Before I came across, I was like every other psychology student, psychoanalysis, behaviorism, and that is what we popularly study and learn in psychology to understand human experiences and behavior. So first, when I came across also, it was something exceptional, deep, and more spiritual in nature. Right now, many of us might have doubts or not really, a clarity about what spirituality is. There could be even a misconception that spirituality is religion, or it is some mystical aspects, and may be true or may not be true, or it is only for saints, monks, or so many misconceptions we might have about spirituality. But this is something, if I have to put it in a very simple way, it is all of our unique qualities. It's about being connected with each and every one of our unique qualities. So we have our physical form, we can see every other material form, we have a mental aspect, we have emotional aspect, and there is intellectual, and there is rational. There are so many things that comprises who and what a human being is. And transpersonal psychology integrates the aspect of spirituality into all other aspects that we have been studying so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that, because I remember studying psychology at university, and you're quite right. Like the traditional psychology route, it really covers mind, body, maybe some biochemistry, maybe some kind of social psychology, but it really didn't cover anything that I can remember that related to anything kind of spiritual or about kind of the connectedness of things and people. Yeah.
Exactly. It is still a growing field. In fact, it was even recognized as a field of psychology only in 1984.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite new. And the experience of it, understanding of it, even studying it scientifically, it is a big challenge, right? Because, like
Mm.
I said, everything is something that you can see, you can measure objectively.
Mm.
But spirituality is very subjective in nature. And it is an experience more than a technique or characteristics or intervention which we study, right? But still, it's been recognized right now, and there are scholars and pioneers who have been trying to meet the requirements of science, trying to have a lot of studies in this field. So it is
Mm.
growing, it's coming up. And also, that's why they say transpersonal bridges the gap between ancient wisdom and modern science.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Yeah, because it is not something new. It is, as a field which science acknowledged, it is new. But the concept of spirituality and the concept of self, all these are in existence since centuries ago. But right
Mm.
now is when we are trying to bridge the gap.
Mm. Mm. So that's great introduction to transpersonal psychology. How is it relevant when we're thinking about what's going on in our relationships and maybe, issues that we're struggling with in our relationships?
Yes, so that's the most interesting part right now.
Mm.
So, like I said, transpersonal. The word transpersonal itself is, talking about beyond personal, right? The trans, we can say it's beyond. So, what do we mean when we say beyond personal? So, it's beyond the self, beyond ego. So, anything as a social being, physical being, material being, if we are trying to connect with the outside world socially, and that is having relationships, right?
Mm.
And there is no doubt that all of us have an innate need to connect, have relationships, whether good, whether bad, whether forceful, whether it is dependent, or whatever reasons, we all have the need to connect. That cannot be denied. But transpersonal perspective emphasize on the fact that connectedness, that sense of connectedness and relationship has to first happen with self.
Mm.
So that is how it goes. It has to happen with self. There is a world which is inside us, which is vast, and there are so many things that we have to understand about ourselves, accept about ourselves. And then there is room to accept relationships and people connections outside. If
Mm.
our understanding of ourself and acceptance is narrow, then naturally there is going to be difficulty in relationships or dealing with relationship with others.
Mm. Oh, I love that. Just that image that you create there of if your relationship with yourself is narrow, like
Yeah,
just that visual kind of thing of, or is it narrow or is it expansive? Is it wide open?
exactly. The transpersonal psychology talks about self expansiveness.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, like when it is, expanded, you have expanded awareness, you have expanded consciousness, you have understanding and acceptance, then there is more room for unique human qualities. Like I said, so if we have to distinguish ego and spirituality, that is our self and beyond self, it'll be our the current ego, and the self will be what, blaming,
Mm.
and what more, living up to social standards and complaining, intolerance, all these things is what our personal ego right now has. And something that where we are focusing more, when we say spiritual, focusing on the spirit of human, there comes love, compassion, unconditional love, creativity, art,
Mm.
integrity, honesty, all these words I know we know. All of us know all these words. But what do we really do? How do we
Mm.
really recognize them within ourselves?
Mm. Yeah. Do we recognize it at all? Yeah.
Yes, we don't
Gosh.
need to have every qualities, but are we able to recognize what are the qualities that we have in ourselves, which is important to us, or that makes us, that makes who I am?
Mm. And if we don't see that, and we have that kind of that narrow view of ourselves, maybe that we're kind of, you know, judging ourselves a lot, then how might that impact on our relationships with other people?
Okay, so is it okay if I ask you a question?
Of course. Yeah.
Yes. So, um, can you take a guess as to why we have issues in relationships first?
Mm. That's a huge question. Yeah. Oh. Mm. I guess like I want to give you like lots of different answers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever
But
comes to your mind.
um, for example, you know, I'm thinking about that we might have problems because of what we learned growing up from the people around us. So maybe we didn't learn how to do relationships very well. But also, yeah, I think the relationship with ourselves is fundamental. But it took me a very long time to realize that. And
Yes.
then that leads to problems with our relationships with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting perspective. And obviously, there are no right or wrong answers,
Mm.
right? So, if we think about it, it when we are trying to have this connection and connection with others, and there are issues, we are trying to do what we want to do, but still we are having issues. Why? Could there be a fear?
Mm.
Fear of what? Could there be something that is acting as a hindrance to completely be able to just experience what we want?
Mm.
So, what could be the fear? What could be this hindrance? Is the struggle and suffering happening from fear of isolation? Because we want to connect,
Mm.
and what would be the opposite of it? I'll be alone and I'll be lonely. It could be, if we think about it, it applies to every relationship:
Mm.
romantic relationship, sibling relationship, parent child relationship, work relationship, any relationship. We want to be connected because if not, we are alone. And the problem here is not loneliness or the fact that we have fewer relationships or the fact that we didn't learn how to be in a relationship. The problem here is the perception of us as this relationship or any relationship is being inadequate to meet our needs. Any relationship. So I have certain expectations. I have certain frame of reference in terms of how this relationship or how this relationship can be desirable for me. So I have certain belief. So the problem here is the feelings of inadequacy in terms of this relationship is not meeting my need.
Mm.
It's a perception. And when we have such feelings, when this is being the problem, like I said, when loneliness is not a problem, Because you think when you are alone, you are worthless. Why can't you accept the fact that you can be alone? Why can't
Mm,
we? Right?
mm,
So there is a strong negative association between not having a healthy relationship with someone. Because if I am alone, that means I am unacceptable. That means I am worthless. That means I am unlovable. That means I cannot do anything. I'm good for nothing. So, if there is no relationship, there is this sense of looking at the self negatively. There is self criticism.
mm,
And that is why it doesn't work otherwise.
mm,
Because there is always this sense of fear of loneliness and insecurity in terms of if it is not there, what will I do?
mm, mm. Wow. So if somebody's watching this and thinking, ah, that's me, ah, um, what would be like your thoughts for them? Like, at least, like, initially, like, to kind of help them to start to get out of that place.
It is definitely not easy. Like you
Mm,
mentioned, it is going to be a huge effort and difficult to be able to start practicing connecting with self or paying attention to self or focusing on self, because we are so conditioned to being social being.
mm,
And having a transformation as a, with the addition of spiritual aspect is going to be difficult because it's new, not because the act in itself is difficult. It's going to be new. Anything new is a challenge.
mm.
But like the quote from one of my favorite books said, it's the effort that can make it effortless.
Ooh, I like that.
Only then. See, even if you take a language, initially when you try to learn a new language, you struggle.
Mm,
But then eventually you speak fluently. So,
mm,
what is the key? There is no easy way.
mm.
Anything new is going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging. Seems like consistency is the key because you have to consistently practice, even if it is difficult and suffering. Only then there is fluency.
Mm.
So, suffering is inevitable, challenge is inevitable, having to make an effort is inevitable, but we have to know that soon it's going to be fluent and effortless.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
kind of practice that takes effort is practices like which practices which could help us align our focus within self, our meditation, self compassion, self love, practicing self care. Recently, I read something online about self care because there are so many posts and articles and blogs about self care recently trending.
Mm,
But this one, content which caught my attention was where they mentioned self care is not a trend, or it is not putting on makeup and then sleeping and then going to a spa. That is not self care. Self care is having to make a difficult choice
mm,
and sticking to it,
mm.
which is true. So it is going to be true and it is going to be like that. But the
Mm.
practice has to be consistent. We have to
Yeah.
learn what is meditation. We have to learn how to practice self compassion. There are many ways to practice each things.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, it really resonates, I guess, with my own experience. When I was just beginning to start kind of wanting to have a relationship with myself and starting to kind of explore how to do that, it felt really uncomfortable to begin with. Like, just a practical example, I remember reading, a suggestion, for example, of taking myself out to a restaurant on my own, not with anyone, just on my own for myself. And that I was just like, I can't do that. Like, that would just feel so awkward. And oh, no. but now I can do it. But there's been a journey to doing that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. So you
it's
have tried it. That's an amazing thing. You have consistently tried it. You didn't
mm,
just drop it in the beginning. So that is what will help us continue with. It is not rocket science. It is not something we cannot do. It's not even a question of ability or capability. It is question of free will. And
mm,
how much are you willing to? How much are we willing to?
yeah, yeah, that's true as well. Because I suppose there's something about um even if we're really unhappy where we are, it's still like what we know and is what's familiar to us. And so trying something new that might help us, it's still like that extra effort. It's stepping out of our comfort zone. It's doing something that feels awkward or uncomfortable and sticking with it.
Exactly.
Like what you were saying about consistency is like sticking
Exactly.
at it, not kind of trying it and thinking, well, I didn't, that felt uncomfortable, so I'm not going to do that again. It's actually, like, keep going, and you will begin to notice
You know what? Even
changes.
I am a practical example. In fact, I know this. I had the knowledge that the moment where I have to just be with myself, it's going to be difficult for me. So I better start practicing. I kept telling this to myself, but never started for a long time. But then there was a time period where, I had to just be with myself. And then, I needed to practice it. I know how difficult it was initially. Like you said, I was looking for ways to just occupy myself, everything external. What if there is nothing? Like you have, yes, books, laptop, mobile, you can, play stuff, do stuff, talk to people. But if that is also not there, and if you are not able to be with yourself, not able to have a conversation with yourself of your alone experiences, it was difficult. So, like, you also mentioned, I had to try something that I had postponed for a very long time. I had to try, I tried, and I can, with little confidence, say that I'm better at it now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, indeed. Yeah. Oh, yes. And then I love, like, the things that you were mentioning. Yeah, meditation. I'm a big fan of meditation. And just, there are, as you say, like, self-care isn't necessarily about having bubble baths. It is, it's like, as you say, like making those consistent choices of, what is best for me, like what do I need to do to take care of myself. Yeah, I love that. I'm just thinking, like, so when we begin to do these things, um and our kind of our relationship with ourself expands, and there is that more self-acceptance, what is it that you notice might then be different in terms of our relationships with other people?
There is a sense of personal autonomy, and there is a sense of responsibility for self, and the connection that we have been talking about in terms of needing to have a sense of connection with others. You can feel that within yourself. I will give you a little example. I mentioned the qualities in the beginning, right? Unique qualities of each individual. Those qualities will not be anymore related to other people. So if there is trust and we have a relationship, if I trust you, the trust is not influenced by you. I have regard for trust. I have regard for intimacy. I commit to commitment. I don't commit to you. I commit to commitment. I am loyal to loyalty. I am honest with honesty. So, that sense of empowerment is the feeling you will have, because if I am having my values clarified, my, quality strengthened and expanded and accepted, you as a person will not influence my love for love.
Mm. Mm.
Because it is love. It is not anything related to the other person. Yes, there are conflict, there are discrepancies, but my concept of love, I will always love that.
Mm. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, I'm going to be reflecting on that the rest of the day. Yeah. One of my core values is peace. So I'm just thinking, yeah. So that somebody else then can't kind of like shake the relationship that I have with peace.
If it is honesty, if it is integrity, the regard I have for that value of mine, which makes who I am, is not diluted or influenced.
Oh,
That is why the connection with self is important.
yes. Okay. So I could probably talk to you for hours, but
I know. Sorry,
I promised we would keep it to half an hour. So, but before I let you go, a couple of things. So one is, I suppose, just is there anything that you would like people to take away, just in terms of building that connection with self, that you haven't mentioned or that you want to expand on before we go?
I just want to say that it's absolutely okay to just be. There is nothing any of us need to know from outside. Everything that we want to know, need to know, is all within us. We have to be able to ask the question to ourselves, especially if I am here sitting alone, if any of you are sitting somewhere with yourself, maybe you can try asking, what am I feeling? Right now, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? Have conversation with yourself and try and replace why questions with what questions. Why am I alone? What am I feeling when I'm alone? So if we can start from there, it'll be great.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. And for those again watching, if they want to get in touch with you at all, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Email?
Okay. Yeah.
You have my email ID.
I do. Yes. So we can pop that in the in the comments for the video.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I don't know like where the half an hour went.
Me too.
I have loved it. I have learned a lot. Thank you so much for coming on today.
You're welcome. And thank you so much. I enjoyed having this conversation with you too.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and look, we've got a thank you there in the comments. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my students, Vibhuti.
Oh, thank you for joining us. That's really lovely. And for anyone watching on replay, if you've got any questions, again, just pop them in the comments and both of us can come in and have a look. All right. Love you all. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for being here.